2.
All right, Football Friday, and in the athletic world and life, it's next man up. And Cody Crushell, who's the Mike Trout of doing this, is out this week. So the show goes on, and you know, Mike Ford wasn't available in AAA. We went down to the independent leagues. I was available, and we're going to keep the Football Fridays going with a little next man up. And my first question is going to be, and I got our 2 coordinators here who, anybody who's watched our games, see what a great job we do schematically and motivating and inspiring our guys. My first question is going to be for Steve Herbert. And, you know, Steve's been here 35 years at Princeton. And if I could take you back 35 years ago, the winter of 1984, go back to Princeton, how you got to Princeton, and what that was like back in the winter of 1984, 1985.
Well, it's been a long time since I thought of it, Bob. And, you know, thinking back right now, one of my best friends, a gentleman that coached me at the University of Delaware, was a coach by the name of Ron Rogerson, and we had developed an unbelievable bond while he coached me and then while we worked together. And he had left Delaware to go to Maine, spent 5 years at Maine, and then he was named the head football coach at Princeton in December of 1984. So it's always everybody's dream to coach with their best friends. So when Ron got the job here at Princeton, came up, spent a day with him, always loved Ron, immediately fell in love with Princeton and everything it has to offer. And the question was, will you join me? And the answer came very, very quickly, yes, I will.
It's impossible to say no to Ron Rogerson, right? I was recruited by Ron, and I mean, he was just such a, you know, the history of Princeton football. He played such a huge role, and you know, what was that like the excitement of, you know, the new job?
Well, it's phenomenal, because when you spend a day with Ron, like you said, he's full of energy, full of enthusiasm, and he just breeds confidence in everybody he touches. And he talks to you about the tradition of Princeton football throughout the course of the day, walking around this magnificent campus and up and down Nassau Street, and then listening to his vision for the program. It's uplifting, and it's something you just, again, you can't say no to, and it was something you wanted to be a part of.
Good. And Andy, you know, I want to take back to 2001, 2002, and you're being recruited out of the state of Minnesota, and people who maybe not realize this, you know, tuning in or whatever, we're a nationally recruited school, but here you are growing up in Minnesota, and you get recruited by Princeton. Go back through your recruiting process and what brought you here.
Yeah, well, being from the Midwest, you know, early on in the recruiting process for me, I mean, I was hearing from a lot of schools in the Midwest, and, you know, I'd always done well in school. You take the ACT, you do well on it, and all of a sudden you start hearing from these Ivy League schools. And my dad was a teacher, and my mom had been a teacher, so obviously, you know, the education was important. So we talked about it, and we said, you know, when it comes down to it, you take those official visits, you definitely want to visit an Ivy League school, because it's just a different opportunity than anything else out there. So I'm going through the process, talking to the other Ivy League schools, and you know, when it came down to it, I ended up choosing Princeton to come out and take an official visit. And when you come to this place, the campus is beautiful. I love the location, you know, being, you know, close enough to the city but not in the city. And then it was very obvious to me when I was here for the official that everybody here, athletic department and everybody around campus, are all here to help you have success. And I didn't feel that way in any other place I visited. So, you know, you combine that with the elite education you get and the opportunities to, you know, do anything you would want to do, you know, from a major standpoint, which for me at the time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. You know, it was a really easy decision.
Yeah, your family's the best, and you know, your dad's a football coach and a great football coach in the state of Minnesota. And when's he coming back out here?
He will be at the hotel on Friday, ready to go. And then he's out for a couple of weeks.
Our coaches know you just absolutely love when he's around, and
absolutely.
You got an extra coach with us when he's around. But what type of offense did your dad run in high school?
For a big chunk of his coaching career, he ran the veer, split back veer. And then when I got into high school, he transitioned and we became more of a spread offense and more zone schemes. And I think it was more attributed just to the personnel had kind of changed that he had in the team, so he made a transition then.
Yeah, and I grew up with the same thing. My dad actually first ran to Veer as well, and it was kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and the pass game maybe hadn't been invented at Millville High School either. And transitioned, and then you coach at high school. Sometimes you got to adapt to the players you have. But when your dad watches our offense, what does he say? What does he think?
Well, the funny thing is when he comes in for meetings and coaches ask him what would you do here? He doesn't really have a lot of opinions on it, because he said to me a couple times, like, offensive football has come so far since I was coaching that he's just trying to keep up with figuring out where the ball's going when we call play during practice.
Yeah. Have you made a call during a game or something where after the game, has he ever asked you or hey, what were you thinking here?
Not at this point. I'm waiting for it to happen for sure.
Yeah, I remember first year I'm a head coach, and we punted at the end of the game where we could have taken a safety, but it was a little too far out. And here it is, it's 2000, I'm at Western Connecticut, and my dad said it way more kindly than he would if I was on his staff when I did it. And it's kind of one of the advantages of having your father as a head coach to lean on that
Definitely.
way. Steve, you had the privilege of coaching your son, and it was on the other side of the ball, but Matt was an incredible quarterback here, and man, those quarterbacks back then, and he particular, would have been awesome. You look at our offense and what we're doing and everything else, and what a great player he was. But go through you're having your son on the team and what that meant to you.
Well, one of the greatest things about life is family, as we all know. And as we all get older, your family starts to split up at times just because they go in different directions. And one of the neatest things, or the neatest thing about having him here, is our family still had the opportunity to stay together for 4 additional years. Because if he decided to go elsewhere, then I would be playing on Saturday. My wife would be going to his games. So I would kind of be a loner. So having him here was terrific, because my wife can attend the games. I can see him not only on a daily basis, but on Saturdays. And there's nothing better during the course of the week when he's coming down for the quarterback meetings to stop in and maybe have a Coke, sit down and just say hello. Let me know how his day is going. Let me know how he's doing in school from an academic standpoint. So that was the fun thing, the continuation of a more normal family life. And that was unbelievably exciting. A little bit of a distraction on Saturdays, because at times, instead of doing the things maybe I should have been doing between series, I'd try to get a peek of the action and see a little bit more of what he was doing. But it was from a family situation. I couldn't have asked for anything better than to have my son Matt play here for 4 years.
Yeah, your family just expanded a little, and 18 years from now we'll have another quarterback.
He's got 2 boys and 1 little girl, and just 2 weeks ago he did have another boy.
Yeah, a couple of football players we'll be recruiting soon. To segue into family, and I'm wearing the Team Digger shirt right now, and so many of us at Princeton. He was the assistant O-line coach when I was here, meant so much to me as a player, as a coach. Talk to us. He's going through a tough battle right now, and we all know what a fighter he is. But talk to us about Steve DiGregorio as a person and as a coach. And I know how we're going to play Coach James Perry, and as a staff, your brothers. When you work with people as long and the time we put in, talk to us about Steve DiGregorio.
I mean, Steve DiGregorio has a heart of gold, and we, meaning Bob and myself, being here at the table that had spent a lot of time with him, we absolutely love Steve. I mean, he's a true giver. He thinks of others much more than he thinks of himself. And in the world that we live in, it's a world of team concepts. And he's truly a team player. It's going to be more about me than it is him. It's going to be more about Bob than it is him. And that's why we feel so strongly about him. He was so much fun to be around from a coaching standpoint, as a offensive line coach, as a running back coach, as a defensive line coach. If you called up any of his players from the past, particularly someone like a Keith Elias or a Darryl Oliveri, I mean, they're going to talk to you about, you know, how great a technician, how much enthusiasm he had, how he tried to better himself each and every day to ensure that his players could be better on a daily basis also. So as Steve goes through these chemotherapy treatments for the cancer he's fighting, we're all a part of his team, and we're all cheering as loud as we possibly can that things go in a very, very positive direction over the next 6+ months.
Yeah, and he's incredible. He comes out to our practices, and you know, it's always a great day. I don't, you know, the alumni are out here and watching this and hearing this. There's not one guy who didn't love Digger, right? There's not one person who played for him who wasn't a better player and who didn't absolutely love, you know, him for the heart and soul he meant to this program. You know, here you are, you've been here 35 years, and I get it, it's Football Friday, but it's like Carvel, where Wednesdays or Sundays, it's actually Wednesday. What time did you get here this morning?
I got here this morning probably about 5:15.
5:15 in the morning, right? And that's the life of a coach, and that's what we do and everything else, but it's not like 25 years ago, you're here at 5:15. 15 years ago, you're at 5:15. You know, the preparation that goes into it is incredible. One of the things I love, and we have access through friends of ours to so much NFL video. Go through the sack tape. You know, you went through, how many sacks was it individually, and present this to our players of how they can improve themselves. Go through the sack tape.
Well, we're pretty fortunate because we have access to a lot of different things maybe that other people do not have. And Jason Garrett, being a former player here and the head coach at Dallas, gives us access to his video library. So each and every year what we do is we gather the sack tape, and there's approximately 1,400 each and every year in the NFL. And we as a staff go through each one individually, and then we make an individual folder for each sack in terms of the technique that's being used, the down and distance it's being used in. If it's a pressure, is it strong side, is it inside, is it weak side? Certain field zones. So we categorize it probably into 40 or 50 different folders and just break it down, you know, for our general knowledge. But it's great for our players because they want to come in and watch, say, DeMarcus Ware. Bang, it was DeMarcus Ware. They want to come in and see Von Miller. They want to come in and see D Ford. They can take a look at somebody that they see themselves as similar in style, not that quite level, but similar in style. So it's fun, and it's just it really backs up a lot of the things that we say in terms of the different things that we're trying to teach. We say, look at the best and see what they're doing, and they're doing things that we're talking about. So let's try to strive to be as close to these guys as we possibly can from a technical standpoint. So we do it each and every year we pick out probably the top 30 pass rushers. So they just want to watch them in particular rather than a technique. They can just watch those players also. So it's a fun thing for those guys because they're the best of the best, and that's how you get better, by watching the best of the best and the way they do things.
Yeah, and that word better is something we talk about all the time, and whether you've been at one place for 35 years, you find ways to be better and develop our players. The other way to do it is, you know, Andy, you were here for a few years and were integral, you know, working with James, working with the guys on our staff, and seeing this program and this offense get better. And then you spent a year in the NFL. Talk about what you learned and what that experience and what that's done for you when you came back.
So when I went down to Tampa Bay, I actually ended up on defense. Yeah. When I left to go down there, I wasn't anticipating that, but I ended up on defense, and I worked for Bill Sheridan, who's defensive coordinator. And it was really cool because we started from the ground floor, building the playbook, and I learned so much as far as why he liked certain fronts, why he liked certain coverages, what they were good for, why he wanted to run certain blitzes. it helped me now on the offensive side understand why defense are doing what they're doing. Another guy who had a big impact when I was down there was Rondé Barber. So Rondé Barber, I believe, was going to year 18 at that time, and we're installing Tampa 2 coverage, which he had been. They were the team. That's the reason it's called Tampa 2, and he's taking pages of notes from these coaches that are installing this, and I'm just thinking that's what a pro looks like. There should never be a time when one of our guys thinks they have everything figured out. Like, you start from ground zero, learning the plays and studying. If Rondé Barber is doing it in year 18, there's nobody who should think they got it all figured out at that point. And then the other part that I feel like I took away from that was really beneficial is just to focus on situational football, and also with that, how personnel driven the NFL is, just with how you would look at different personnels with one guy who's different, one different receiver, maybe one different tight end, and how it can, completely adjust, tendencies that they have, but also adjust how you look at them and the calls you want to make.
Awesome. Well, next week will be better because Cody will be back. I'll be back in the independent leagues. Thank you guys. This was awesome. Absolutely. And Football Friday. Thank you.